Well, days like this don't come around too often for the Republic of Ireland. A 3-0 win against Scotland. Remarkably, Stewie, it's Ireland's biggest victory against a team ranked higher than them in a competitive game since 1989. Yeah. I don't think anyone was quite expecting a performance like that.
No, I think what the minimum expected, I suppose, was just a reaction, and more energy. A little bit like what we've been maybe 3 or 4 months ago, when people really felt that there was a real positivity, an air of positivity about this team, and we got that in spades.
Was that just a reaction, or was there more to the performance than sitting listening to all the criticism they've got over the last couple of days?
I get the sense there was something different about the approach to this game, and I'm saying that because there was a reaction from the players afterwards that would suggest that they were maybe feeling a little bit of heat on this one, that they had underperformed, especially in the Armenian game, and that they really wanted to put on a performance today. And not only did they put on a performance, but we got quality of goals like that, like you don't see too often in an Ireland jersey. And we've seen Obafemi kind of really make his mark. Finally gets his opportunity, and he really made a mark on the game. He was absolutely fantastic. But I thought Parrot was excellent as well. A little bit unfortunate maybe not to play against Ukraine. Parrot has that real youthful energy about him, and there's a maturity about him now that wasn't there maybe a year ago. So it all looks good.
Yeah.
For the future.
we're not ones for extremes when it comes to covering the Republic of Ireland.
One game at a time.
We have sat in this position, or stood in this position, I'd say, about 20 times over the last 5 years. I don't think we've ever had to speak about a victory at any stage. I'm a bit shell-shocked.
I've said it to you a few times. I was starting to get a little bit sick and tired of listening to myself.
Well,
because you feel like you're just repeating the same things all the time, and that there's a little bit more in the locker. Like they've a little bit more in the tank.
So in terms of what was different then, so Stephen Kenny made 5 changes.
The Jason Knight change was a huge difference. Dropping Jason Knight, just that little bit of an instruction, just drop a little deeper.
So in terms of tactically, you think Knight played a very different role today than he did on Wednesday night against Ukraine?
Yeah, he was a little bit too far ahead of the game. To be quite honest with you, our front three against Ukraine and Armenia were too far ahead of the game. So obviously had a word with him, said come a little bit deeper. Play as a third midfielder, but then you can make your runs forward from a deeper position. You're a little bit more difficult to be marked, and that's ultimately what happened. Now, I'm not saying Jason Knight wasn't the difference, but there was a better balance about the team, and I felt it kind of gave Cullen an extra option. It was an extra deterrent for the Scottish midfield, and we had better options. Now, on top of that, Obafemi was excellent, Parrot was excellent. Thought we defended very well. We rode our luck, Nathan. Lest we forget, it could have been 1-1 at one stage, could nearly have been 2-2, but we rode our luck a little bit, but we certainly capitalised on the opportunities that came our way, and we took full advantage of the fact that Scotland weren't at the races, and that's something that's important for us to learn as well. That during a game, have a little look at the opposition. Where are the gaps? Where are the opportunities going to come from? And we capitalised on that.
Michael Obafemi made his Republic of Ireland debut in 2018. We've had to wait a long time for this. There's been a whole lot going on with 21s. Did he want to play? Injuries, loss of form. Never really kicked on the way everybody hoped, even when he scored for Southampton against Manchester United a couple of years ago. Whew, did he arrive today.
Yeah.
The pass for the Troy Parrot goal. And that's the best goal that's ever been scored at this stadium.
Yeah, I probably agree with you. I mean, the fact to see it in live action was stunning. We got a wonderful view from here, and it was obviously scored that goal. Well, the goal's gone now. But it was the sheer pace of it, and it came out of nowhere because he had such a short backlift. It didn't look like he was going to strike it because the ball was quite close to his feet, and it was just one of them where you feel he's going to take a touch and move it, but just bang, blink of an eye.
It's so refreshing to see the confidence and ambition, because how often do you see Irish players pick the ball up in that, and you know exactly what they're going to do. They're going to roll it out to the right hand side, a cross will come in, and we'll get a corner kick, and that's as much as you can hope for. To actually say, you know what, I have the confidence on my first ever start for my country to take that on.
I think that's the benefit of youth. That's the wonder of youth, when you have young players that have that come through. Older experienced players can tend to they don't tend to benefit from, they do things the right way and they standards, and that's all fine, but when you've got players, Nathan, that can just do something different out of nothing, it can be the difference, and that was the difference today. I felt, especially for Obafemi's goal, but even the goal that he's laid on for Troy Parrot. There was just something different about it. Something a bit I'm being a bit harsh saying un-Irish, but it was just a breath. It was a breath of fresh air.
I think that's what most people watching would have felt, that the second goal. So the first goal was a very Irish goal. It was corner kick. It was scrappy, and Alan Brown, fair play to him, got himself in the right place, and it really sort of just relaxed everybody, I think.
Yeah.
But the second goal, Troy Parrot, it sort of gets overshadowed by the quality of the pass from Michael Obafemi with the dink over. But Parrot wins the initial ball, wins the initial header,
exactly,
and then does exactly what you want almost a number 9 to do, is turn and go. Yeah. And he went, and Obafemi was able to pick him out. But again, Parrot having that confidence, a real sign that these guys are maybe starting to become the players we hoped they would. And maybe at a time when they should be, that we all expected far too much from these guys too soon.
The manager's put his faith in them, Nathan. He stuck them in. These are, in days gone past, these would have been considered kids. But he's gone, no, there's your chance, son. There's a jersey. See what you can go and do. And Troy Parrot has taken his opportunity to get. He's really now, I'm just thinking back to some of the goals he's gotten. The Lithuanian goal here, the goal in Andorra when we were struggling for a goal, when we were struggling in the performance. He's and there's a maturity about him now. I was just looking at some of the stuff he was doing off the ball. Leaning into players, using his body weight, that kind of stuff. And he's not an overly strong player, but he's learning how to use his body. His all-round game is really starting to come to fruition. And that's, look, if we can keep him fit, if we can keep Obafemi fit, it certainly bodes well for our options up front. There's real competition for places in that front three. But it's one step at a time. I mean, things were a little bit doom and gloom. People were a little bit frustrated, and I'll keep saying we've gotten back on the horse again.
A couple more players I just want to single out. James McLean is never the most fashionable player to talk up. He was brilliant today. The quality of his set pieces was a game changer. Yeah,
absolutely. Funny, I've often heard about James McLean, how wonderful professional he is, and the physical stuff and the fitness stuff, and he certainly is all that. But it's important for him that he's got a big role to play for us. He could make that position his own if he was to just maybe that quality from wide positions is a big thing for him. It's a big thing for us. We lack that. Scotland didn't have that today. The supposed best left back in the world, I hear, couldn't cross the road today.
Yeah, Robertson was poor,
to be quite honest. But McLean, if he can get that consistency of crosses into his game, he could be a big part of this Irish future, no doubt about it.
Scotland were very poor in general throughout the game, yet they had chances, and you touched on it there in the first half, which were all of Ireland's own doing, playing it around at the back. So for all the Irish kickouts, Shane Duffy and John Egan stand at the edge of the 6-yard box, and twice it nearly ended up in absolute calamity. Yeah. Stephen Kenny's not going to change it. I guess you just have to trust the players to execute it, but Shane Duffy didn't look particularly comfortable in that situation.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we should give a little bit more credit to Scotland in that they sort of lulled us in. Maybe they've done a bit of work on it, and the whole tactic from their point of view was to let the pass happen and then close down quickly, which they did do. But we have to see that as well, and we need to be a little bit better. We're putting the ball at risk in silly areas. There's no need to do that. If there isn't a clear pass on to somebody on the edge of your own box, don't give it to them, and maybe just try to play wide.
If there's a big winner overall of the 3 games so far, Nathan Collins. This guy.
I never realised how quick he was.
This guy feels like he's first choice centre half now.
I never. Just from watching him in the flesh now, I'm pleasantly surprised by how quick he is. I imagine he must be over 30 or 40 yards. I say he's probably one of the quickest players in that team, because he has used his pace on a numerous occasions in the last few games to get himself out of jail. And in the Armenian game in the first half, I felt he looked a little bit tired, couldn't get his feet sorted out. But very impressed with him today, and I think he's got a long career ahead of him in Ireland jersey. Yeah. No doubt about that.
Stephen Kenny, and you'll have seen the level of criticism that they have faced, understandably, when you lose against Armenia and it's as flat at home against Ukraine. And it did feel coming in tonight that if Ireland were to lose this game and were to go away to Ukraine and finish with 0 from 4, that he'd be under enormous pressure to keep his job. What do you think? It's one game, but what do you think this means to Kenny and the project and the future? Is this an absolute landmark performance that changes his future considerably?
I think he's still learning as a manager, Nathan. Believe it or not, I think you have to accept that. You're learning all the time, and I'm not saying that his attitude to the 2 games might have been a little bit lax or something like that, but the criticism stuff is important. You have to be critical when it's deserved. I don't think you would have gotten that reaction today unless there was criticism. And that's fine, it's part of the game, as long as it isn't stupid stuff. I do think that the talk about calling for his his job was a little bit silly, but I think.
But you have to win matches.
Yeah, you have to win matches. But if you go looking for trouble, you'll find it, Nathan. That kind of way. So I think it was important that we didn't get too involved in that. What's important is, are we progressing on the pitch? People can see that all the time, and they saw that, especially in the Armenian game. And there needed to be a reaction, and we got it. That's simple.
I should point out the sun went in at the Aviva Stadium about 3 hours ago, but we got our rock star with us. You're looking to Parrot, Stewie. You got your victory, finally. Finally, well done.
Where's that sun?
Well done. We'll be back. Live commentary, Ukraine, Republic of Ireland, Tuesday night and Off the Ball.